This video is entitled The Blueprint to Financial Freedom. How would you like to achieve financial freedom more quickly and with less drama? In this video, I'd like to introduce you to a foundational financial concept, and that is that, in fact, there are three kinds of money, and each one of these has its own contribution to make in order to speed you toward financial freedom with less obstacles. Well, let's cover the first category of money, and you're going to see how each one of these fits into the equation and how really abiding by the purpose of each of these categories is going to help you tremendously, and it's going to put you at an unfair advantage compared to other people. Well, the first category of money is the category called cash flow. Now, cash flow comes in the form of regular income, and for most people it comes in the form of a paycheck that is paid every month. Now, these paychecks are going to, of course, pay for predictable needs like the mortgage payment, the cable bill, food budget, all these things that come to us on a regular, even monthly basis. Now, cash flow, as we say, meets our lifestyle needs. And these needs just don't go away. We have to pay them every single month. And once these needs are met, then we're really free to start working on the other two categories of money. So I put here on our timeline of financial freedom that the cash flow needs are needs that are going to be met today. Those are not going to wait. They have to be met every single day, every single month. Now, in order for a person to meet these cash flow needs, they're usually, as I said, going to have a paycheck. It's just a reality that most people start out with a job, and that job pays them on a regular basis to meet their cash flow needs. Now, I'm going to show you, though, that there also is a way to replace that paycheck with what we call investment income. And that's what I call stage 2. So if you're in stage 1 right now and you're getting a paycheck, you are meeting your cash flow needs for today, your lifestyle needs for today, and good for you. You need to do that. But you probably are like most people, and that is that eventually you would like to be able to replace that paycheck with investment income that comes in the form of cash flow so that you can either work less time or you can actually quit your job and be free of the rat race. The second category of money that we need to talk about to really lay a foundation toward our financial freedom quest is the area of cash influx. Now, cash influx comes in the form of what I call chunk money. Now, these might be bonus checks, or these might be other piles of cash that we receive months away from today. And how do they come? Well, they come because maybe there's a closing to an escrow, or there's a stock that we sell, or perhaps there's a sale of something that didn't really materialize until months after we made that contact. These are those piles of cash that materialize because we filled our pipeline with energy from ourselves and time in one form or another that then produces a future payday that's months away from today. These cash influx piles of money pay for big expenses. They may pay for a vacation, or they may pay for a home remodel, for example. But really, the better use of these piles of money, if we're really playing our cards right and making sure that we are planning for our own financial future, and that is because we need to pay ourselves first, right? So pay forward, pay into your future, is we need to put this money into investments. We need to put it into investments that are going to pay us into the future. And so once we have our cash flow needs met on a monthly basis, and we start filling our pipeline with these chunk income events that can eventually materialize, we need to take that chunk of money and put that into investments that are going to pay us into the future. And insofar as people do this, then they're going to have something for themselves later, which is really important to do. Now, where do those investments go? Where does that investment money go? Well, it goes into the third category. And the third category is assets. And I wrote here appreciation because these are appreciating assets. I'll give you some examples. you might take those chunks of money and put those into single-family properties or multifamily properties in the form of a down payment as needed. Or you can put it into mortgage paper that can then be performing for you and then pay you cash flow. Or you can invest in businesses, either online or offline. And these three, and even more examples than these, but these are three of the main ones for me, is these pay off cash flow every month. And sometimes based on sales for business, it might be higher or lower. Based upon rents that fluctuate, higher or lower. Based on mortgage payments that maybe sometimes they non-perform and you get them to re-perform. But they pay out cash flow. And these three are really wonderful cash flow incomes that will come to you because you've invested in an asset. These long-term appreciating assets will really build you long-term wealth. They will meet your lifestyle needs because they spin off cash flow. And so really they get transferred over to this first category. These appreciating assets are going to produce income for you, investment income for you. And if you invest in enough of the appreciating assets, they can actually replace your paycheck. Now, there are many people that aren't quite sure how to replace that paycheck. Well, I've just given you the answer. The way is to invest in appreciating assets, either in property, business, or in mortgage paper, that will then provide for those lifestyle needs. Also, these appreciating assets provide you security, financial security, and the reason is because if worst came to worst, you could actually sell one of these assets for your cash flow needs. These assets also provide a sense of peace, because imagine if you have all of these like backing you up right here, they're going to provide you that sense of peace because, again, you can sell them off if you have to in order to provide for your lifestyle needs. And these appreciating assets also provide for legacy. You can pass these on to heirs, and they can receive the same cash flow that you did. And so these are wonderful ways of building a family legacy. Now, I've written on the timeline that they are years away, and that's exactly what they are, because as you invest these piles of cash into appreciating assets, it may be years before you're actually able to sell them off. Now, you can get the cash flow from them in the meantime, and that cash flow will build. But these are assets that are intended to be kept in your portfolio for a long time, because then as you age, as you have the desire to then really cash out some of these assets, then you can do that after they've gained in value. Now, as we talk about years away, I'm reminded of a story that was told about Magic Johnson and Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal actually reported this story, and that is that Magic Johnson, as you know, a longtime basketball player, and he retired, many years before Shaquille O'Neal. And when he got together with his friend Shaq, he said, "Shaq, I've got some advice for you. You're nearing retirement. I need to tell you something." And Shaq said, "Well, what is that?" And Magic Johnson said to him, "Shaq, you need to own some assets." All right? So what was he telling Shaq? Well, Magic Johnson had invested in assets himself, because he had what I saw was a very, very successful transition from career to the regular workaday world, and he made a great transition and started investing in theaters and other businesses, so that when he was not in the NBA any longer, he had a way to support himself. Now, granted, he had made a lot of money in the NBA, but as you know, a lot of these guys, they fritter their money away. Well, Magic didn't do that. So now he was able to tell Shaq the same thing. "Shaq, you need to own some assets." So what did Shaq do? Shaq was smart. He went out and he invested in Five Guys and Fries franchises, and he also became a mortgage note investor. I don't know if you know that, but what he did was he found that there were people who were in default of their mortgage, so he went ahead and he bought the note, and then he leased the house back to them. And the same kinds of concepts we're talking about in these series. So he became a note investor, real estate investor. Well, Shaq, he planned for his future, and now he's a full-time businessman doing extremely well, very happy, and now he's offering advice to other people as well of what he's done. So we need to do the same thing. We need to remember that our career, maybe not in the MBA, but whatever we're doing right now, has an end point. Now, it may be that you want to continue to work as long as you're able. Well, great. But how long will you be able? Or how long will you have desire to hit it hard every day, to get up and work all those long hours? We need to have the sense of our own humanity. There is going to be a time when we don't have either the ability or the desire to continue to work as strenuously as we do today. We are not immortal, and I hate to break the news to you, but we really need to plan for that day when we need our assets, our appreciated assets, to support us. So what are you doing right now to put your money away into appreciating assets that are going to pay you into the future until the day when you just want to sit on the rocking chair on the porch drinking lemonade? All right, so I would really advise that you take a look at that. We all should. So we've gone through the three categories of money: cash flow, cash influx, and appreciation. And I've shown you how these work together. Let me show you one problem that I see some people doing, which I hope will head you off on this one. There are some people that are still making a paycheck, and they have illusions about quitting their job in order to exist off of cash influx or off of appreciating assets. Now, that's not wise, because unless you have your cash flow needs met, you really can't depend upon chunk income, because chunk income comes months away. It doesn't come on a predictable basis. And unless you have your appreciating assets spinning off enough cash flow for you on a regular basis to replace that paycheck, it really isn't time yet. So please don't try to depend upon chunk income in order to pay you cash flow until you have enough appreciating assets to take the place of your paycheck. So that's one problem that I see. Another mistake that I see especially real estate investors making is they invest in a project and then it pays off months later in the form of chunk money, and then it has to pay for cash flow needs, but they assume that this is really investing in appreciating assets. Well, really what it is, it's more like a job. It's a job that's paying off months later. Well, that is probably like the worst kind of job, right? I mean, for you to put all your time and energy into something today and not get paid for months later, I don't think you really want to do that. So really what we need to do as real estate investors is we need to take those piles of money and invest those into appreciating assets that we hold so that they can then pay us cash flow and appreciate over time, rather than taking those piles of cash and meeting our paycheck needs, our cash flow monthly needs. And so in this sense, the real estate investor really has done nothing more than just replace a job with a lot more drama in their life, because they aren't sure whether those paychecks are going to come soon enough to meet their monthly cash flow needs. In this video, we discovered that there are actually three kinds of money that we use to build toward our financial future. And understanding each one and abiding by the purposes of each will really lead us on that quest with less time and less drama. I hope this has been helpful to you. See you next time.